I discovered my best friend was spreading rumors about me, and the truth was worse than I thought. Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. They say you should keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But what do you do when your closest friend turns out to be your worst enemy? When the person who knew all your secrets was the one using them to destroy you? This is the story of how I discovered my best friend of 12 years was systematically dismantling my life, piece by piece, and how the truth turned out to be so much darker than I ever imagined. I met Jessica Harmon when we were both 23, fresh graduates starting our first real jobs at Meridian Marketing, a mid-sized advertising agency in Chicago. We were hired the same week, sat through orientation together, and bonded over our shared terror of corporate life and our mutual addiction to overpriced coffee. Jess was magnetic. That's the only word for it. She had this energy that drew people in, made them feel special, seen. She was funny and sharp, with perfect timing and a laugh that made you want to laugh with her. Within weeks of meeting her, I felt like I'd known her my entire life. We became inseparable. We grabbed lunch together every day, stayed late to finish projects, went out for drinks on Fridays. When my apartment lease ended, she convinced me to move into her building. When she went through a brutal breakup, I held her while she cried and ate her weight in ice cream on my couch. We traveled together. Barcelona for my 25th birthday, where we got drunk on sangria and danced until sunrise. New Orleans for hers, where we ate beignets and explored the French Quarter. We had inside jokes, shared playlists, matching tattoos of tiny stars on our wrists we got during a wine-fueled Saturday afternoon. Ride or die, she'd say, holding up her wrist to mine. Ride or die, I'd echo. When I met my husband Marcus at a work event 3 years ago, Jess was the one who encouraged me to give him a chance. When he proposed, she was the first person I called. She was my maid of honor, gave a toast at my wedding that had everyone in tears, caught my bouquet. When Marcus and I bought our first house, she helped us move, christened the new place with champagne, declared herself the honorary godmother of our future children. She was my person. My sister from another mister, the one I trusted with everything. Looking back now, I can see the signs, but at the time, I was blind. It started small. So small I dismissed it. Little comments that felt like jokes, but left a weird aftertaste. You're so lucky Marcus is patient. Not every guy would put up with how scattered you can be. I love how confident you are. I could never wear that dress with my body, but you totally pull it off. It's amazing how you just say whatever you're thinking. I wish I didn't care what people thought of me like you don't. Each comment had plausible deniability. Maybe I was being sensitive. Maybe she didn't mean it that way. Maybe I was reading into things. Then there were the moments where opportunities seemed to slip through my fingers in weird ways. I'd mention a pitch idea to Jess during lunch, and by the next meeting, she'd present something remarkably similar. When I brought it up, she'd act confused. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. Great minds think alike, right? I'd let it go. It felt petty to make an issue of it. When a big client specifically requested to work with me, somehow Jess ended up on the account instead. She said there was a miscommunication, that management thought we'd work on it together. But then she took the lead, and I ended up doing support work. You don't mind, right? She asked with that bright smile. You've got so much on your plate already. I'm helping you out. When I was up for a promotion, she pulled me aside with concern in her eyes. I don't want you to get your hopes up, she said gently. I overheard Karen and Steve talking. They think you're not ready yet. I'm so sorry. I fought for you, but you know how they are. I didn't get the promotion. Jess did. But she felt so bad about it. Bought me an expensive bottle of wine. Took me out to cheer me up. What kind of person could be mad at that? There were social things too, plans that would somehow fall through, friends who seemed to drift away. Jen said she can't make it to your birthday thing, Jess would report. She's dealing with some family stuff, but don't worry, I'll be there. Mike and Sarah already have plans that weekend, but honestly, I think it'll be more fun with a smaller group anyway. Marcus started making comments about how Jess was always around. Don't you think it's weird how she doesn't seem to have other friends? He asked one night. She has other friends, I defended. She's just going through a rough patch. She needs us right now. She's always going through a rough patch, he muttered. I told him he was being unfair. Jess was my best friend. She'd always been there for me. Maybe he was jealous of our closeness. I should have listened to him. The first real warning came 6 months ago at a company party. I was in the bathroom, in a stall, when I heard 2 women come in. I recognized their voices, Amanda from accounts and Sophie from creative. Did you hear about the Rachel situation? Amanda said. My ears perked up. That was me, Rachel Whitmore. Which one? She, Sophie asked. There's always something with her. They laughed, and my stomach dropped. Apparently, she tried to take credit for Jess's pitch on the Morrison account. Can you believe that? After everything Jess has done for her. I heard she's been really difficult to work with lately, Sophie added, like demanding and kind of unstable. Sarah said she had a meltdown in a meeting last week. I hadn't had a meltdown. I disagreed with a strategy decision, professionally, calmly. And did you hear about her marriage? Amanda lowered her voice. Supposedly there's trouble. Jess is really worried about her. My marriage was fine. Where were they getting this? Poor Jess, Sophie said. She's such a good friend to put up with all of Rachel's drama. They left, and I sat frozen in the stall, my heart pounding. What the hell was going on? I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Over the next week, I noticed things. The way conversations would shift when I approached groups at work. The sidelong glances. The polite distance where there used to be warmth. I reached out to Jen, the friend who supposedly couldn't make it to my birthday party. Hey, stranger, I texted. Want to grab coffee? She responded after 2 days. I'm pretty busy, but maybe in a few weeks, I pushed. Did I do something to upset you? The response came faster this time. Look, Rachel, I just don't think we're in the same place anymore. I hope you work things out. Work what out? What was she talking about? I called another friend, Katie, someone I'd known since college. We'd been close before I started at Meridian, but had drifted after I became friends with Jess. Katie, can I ask you something? Sure. Her voice was cautious. Why did we stop hanging out? Silence. Then, Rachel, I tried to stay friends with you, but after what you said about me. What I said about you? What are you talking about? Jess told me you thought I was jealous of your success, that you found me clingy and desperate. She said you felt bad, but didn't know how to tell me to back off. My blood ran cold. Katie, I never said any of that. I never thought that. Then why would Jess? She stopped. I could hear her breathing. Oh my God! Can we meet? I asked. Please? We met that evening at a coffee shop halfway between our places. Katie looked nervous, defensive. Tell me exactly what Jess said, I asked. For the next hour, Katie told me. How Jess had slowly, over the course of months, fed her stories about me. How I'd supposedly complained about Katie being too needy. How I'd made fun of her job, her relationship, her life choices. How Jess had positioned herself as the mediator, the one trying to salvage the friendship, but that I was making it impossible. She said you were going through something, Katie said, that you were stressed and taking it out on people around you. She made it sound like she was protecting you, like she didn't want me to confront you because it would make things worse. Katie, none of that is true. I missed you. I thought you were the one who didn't want to be friends anymore. Her eyes filled with tears. What has she been doing? That's when it hit me. The full scope of it. Jess hadn't just spread a few rumors. She'd been systematically poisoning every relationship in my life, all while maintaining the image of my devoted best friend. I need to find out how deep this goes, I said. I became a detective in my own life. I started keeping a journal, documenting every interaction, every conversation, every coincidence. I reached out to more people. My old roommate from college, who Jess had convinced to stop talking to me by saying I'd been gossiping about her addiction recovery. A colleague who Jess had told I'd called incompetent behind his back. My cousin, who Jess had persuaded, was being used by me for free babysitting. The pattern was always the same. Jess would share some cruel thing I'd supposedly said or done, position herself as the concerned friend caught in the middle, and slowly turn people against me while making me think they'd drifted away naturally. But the work stuff was worse. I started going through old emails, comparing dates and conversations. That pitch I'd mentioned to Jess at lunch? I found the email I'd sent myself with notes that same morning, hours before I told her about it. When she presented her similar idea, she presented my idea, nearly word for word. The client who'd requested me, but somehow ended up with Jess? I found the original request email in an archived folder. It clearly stated my name. But the follow-up email chain showed Jess volunteering to take the load off Rachel's shoulders, with a CC to upper management about my overwhelming workload. The promotion I didn't get? I requested a meeting with HR, using the excuse of wanting feedback for professional development. They were confused. "We never had concerns about you being ready," Karen from HR said. "Where did you get that impression?" "I was told you and Steve had reservations." She frowned. "No. Actually, Jessica voiced some concerns during the evaluation process. She said she was worried about you, that you'd been struggling with stress and might not be ready for increased responsibility. We took her input seriously, since you two work so closely together." The room spun. I requested to see the formal feedback. There it was, in writing. Jessica Harmon had submitted a detailed evaluation expressing concerns about my emotional stability, my recent performance inconsistencies, my interpersonal challenges with team members. All lies. Professional, documented lies that had cost me a promotion and salary increase. I walked out of that meeting shaking with rage. That night, I did something I'm not proud of, but I needed to know. Jess and I had shared passwords for various streaming services and apps. I knew her email password because she'd given it to me once when she was traveling and needed me to check something for her. I logged into her email. What I found made me physically ill. There were folders. Organized, methodical folders. One labeled Rachel Work. It contained drafts of emails, notes on my projects, screenshots of my ideas from our conversations. She'd been documenting everything I shared with her, keeping a repository of material to use. Another labeled Rachel Personal. This one had notes on my marriage, my insecurities, my health issues, my family drama. Everything I'd ever confided in her, cataloged and organized. There were draft emails never sent, messages she'd clearly thought better of sending. In one, she'd written to our boss suggesting I might be having a mental health crisis and perhaps needed intervention. She'd never sent it, but the fact that she'd drafted it. But the folder that made my blood run cold was labeled Plan. I opened it. Inside were documents outlining a systematic strategy. I'm not exaggerating. She had actual strategy documents. One was titled Professional Displacement. It detailed how to position herself as the more reliable, stable option at work, how to subtly undermine my contributions while appearing supportive, how to align herself with key decision-makers, how to make my ideas hers. Another was Social Isolation. This one mapped out my relationships, people closest to me, and strategies for driving wedges between us. She had notes on everyone's insecurities, their trigger points, exactly what lies would be most believable based on their existing perceptions of me. The third document was the worst. It was titled Marcus. She had been working on my husband. The document detailed a long-term plan to create doubt in my marriage, small comments to him about my behavior, suggestions that I might be unhappy, hints that I'd been distant or secretive. She'd been planting seeds, slowly, carefully, waiting for them to grow. There were text messages between them that made me nauseous. Nothing overtly inappropriate, but filled with subtext. Her asking him how he was doing, him venting about work stress, her being understanding, supportive, her subtly suggesting that I didn't appreciate him enough, didn't understand him the way she did. And Marcus, my sweet, trusting husband, hadn't seen it for what it was. He'd just thought she was being a good friend. At the bottom of the folder was a document dated from 2 weeks ago. It was a draft of a message to Marcus, never sent, expressing her concerns about my fidelity. She'd written that she'd seen me having lunch with a male colleague, that it had looked intimate, that she was torn about whether to tell him. That lunch had been with Tim from legal, discussing a contract issue. It had been in our office cafeteria, surrounded by 50 other people, but she was planning to tell Marcus I was having an affair. I sat in my home office at 2 a.m, reading these documents, and I finally understood. This wasn't just jealousy or competition. This was a calculated, long-term campaign to take over my life. My job, my reputation, my relationships, my husband. She wanted everything I had, and she'd been working toward it for years. The question was, why? I kept digging through her emails. Further back, years back, before we'd even become close friends. I found emails to her therapist, discussing her feelings about me. Apparently, she'd been in therapy for years, working through what her therapist called comparison and inadequacy issues. In one email, she'd written, "I can't stop thinking about Rachel. She has everything I want. The career momentum, the ease with people, the relationship, the confidence. It's not fair. We started at the same place, but somehow she's golden and I'm still struggling. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I hate her. I actually hate her. And the worst part is she's nice to me, she trusts me, and that makes me hate her more because I can't even justify my feelings." The therapist had responded with concerns about these thoughts, recommendations for working through the envy in healthy ways. But Jess had stopped seeing that therapist shortly after. I found emails to a friend from college explaining her plan. "I'm going to become indispensable to her," she'd written. "I'm going to be the best friend she's ever had. And then, slowly, I'm going to take everything. Her job, her reputation, her life. And the beautiful part is, she'll never see it coming because she trusts me completely. By the time she realizes what's happening, there will be nothing left." This had been written 7 years ago. 7 years. She'd been playing this game longer than I'd realized. Our entire friendship had been a lie from the start. I printed everything. Every document, every email, every text message. I made multiple copies, stored them in different locations, uploaded them to a secure cloud drive, and then I started planning my response. I didn't want revenge. That's what she would do. I wanted something cleaner, more permanent. I wanted the truth to come out in a way that couldn't be denied, couldn't be spun, couldn't be manipulated. I spent 2 weeks preparing. I didn't change my behavior around Jess at all. I smiled, laughed at her jokes, accepted her invitations. I acted like everything was normal while I built my case. I met with HR again, this time with a lawyer. I presented the documented evidence of Jess's interference in my career advancement. The stolen ideas, the false performance concerns, the systematic undermining. I requested a formal investigation. They were stunned. Karen's face went white as she read through the printed emails. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "These are grounds for immediate termination." "I want it done properly," I said. "By the book, with full documentation. I want it impossible for her to claim discrimination or wrongful termination or anything else." They agreed. The investigation would be conducted, Jess would be interviewed, and based on the evidence, appropriate action would be taken. I reached out to everyone Jess had turned against me. I invited them to a gathering at my house. Didn't tell them why, just said it was important. Katie helped me. She'd been horrified when she learned the full scope of what Jess had done, felt guilty for believing the lies. She reached out to people she knew who'd also been manipulated. On a Saturday afternoon, 15 people gathered in my living room. Friends, colleagues, acquaintances. all people Jess had fed lies to about me. I stood in front of them with Marcus beside me, holding my hand. I asked you all here because you deserve to know the truth, I began. I told them everything. I showed them the evidence, the folders, the systematic campaign. I showed them the specific lies she'd told about each of them, the documented strategies for manipulating them. The room was silent, except for occasional gasps, a few people crying. She used me to hurt you, I said. She used your trust in her to turn you against me. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't realize sooner what was happening. I'm sorry I couldn't protect our friendships from her manipulation. After I finished, people started talking, sharing their own experiences, comparing notes. The pattern was undeniable. What are you going to do? Someone asked. I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth, I said. Not for revenge, but because people deserve to know who they're dealing with. Because she'll do this again if she's allowed to. HR conducted their investigation over the next week. They interviewed colleagues, reviewed the evidence, examined the documented pattern of behavior. Jess was called into a meeting on Friday afternoon. I wasn't there, but Karen told me later what happened. They presented the evidence. Jess denied everything at first, called it a misunderstanding, said I was twisting things because I was jealous of her success. Then they showed her the printed emails from her own account. She crumbled, tried to explain, to justify, to make it sound less calculated than it was. But there was too much documentation, too clear a pattern. She was terminated immediately, escorted from the building by security. That evening, she showed up at my house. Marcus answered the door. I stood behind him, arms crossed. I need to talk to Rachel, she said. She looked terrible, mascara smudged, eyes red. I don't think that's a good idea, Marcus said. Please, Rachel, please, I can explain. Explain what? I stepped forward. Explain 12 years of calculated manipulation? Explain the folders, the plans, the systematic destruction of my life? I was sick, she said desperately. I needed help. I was in a bad place mentally, and I made terrible choices. You weren't sick. You were deliberate. You planned every move. You documented your strategies. You knew exactly what you were doing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll get help. I'll make it right. There is no making this right. You don't get to apologize your way out of 12 years of lying. Please don't do this. You're destroying my life. The audacity of that statement would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. I'm not destroying anything. I'm revealing what you did. You destroyed your own life when you decided to wage a secret war against someone who trusted you. I loved you, she said, tears streaming down her face. No. You envied me. You resented me. You wanted what I had. That's not love. That's obsession. What can I do? Tell me what I can do to fix this. I looked at this woman I'd called my best friend, who'd been my maid of honor, who'd slept on my couch and held my hand and laughed until we cried. This woman who'd spent over a decade systematically trying to dismantle my life. Nothing, I said quietly. You can do nothing. Stay away from me. Stay away from Marcus. Stay away from everyone we know. Move on with your life, and for once, do it without trying to destroy someone else's. Rachel! We're done, Jessica. We've been done for a long time. I just didn't know it. Marcus closed the door. Jess stood on the porch for a few minutes. I watched through the window as she finally walked away, got in her car, and drove off. I haven't seen her since. The fallout was significant. Word spread through our social circle and workplace quickly. People were horrified, angry at Jess, apologetic to me. Several people reached out with their own stories of her manipulation that they hadn't connected before. Tim from legal told me Jess had tried to start rumors about him months ago when he got a promotion she wanted. He'd shut it down, but it had been uncomfortable. Sarah from accounts revealed that Jess had tried to poison her friendship with another colleague, using the same strategies she'd used on me. It became clear that I wasn't her only target, just her most intensive, longest campaign. She'd been manipulating multiple people, playing them against each other, all while maintaining her image as everyone's supportive friend. The company sent out a professional memo about workplace conduct and the investigation, though they didn't name Jess specifically. But everyone knew. My friends came back, some quickly, embarrassed they'd believed the lies. Others more slowly, needing time to process their own feelings of manipulation and betrayal. I didn't blame any of them. She'd been good at what she did. Katie and I rebuilt our friendship. She introduced me to her other friends, and I realized how much I'd missed having a diverse social circle. Jess had subtly isolated me, making me dependent on her for social connection. Marcus and I went to couples therapy, not because there were problems, but because we wanted to process what had happened. The therapist helped us understand how Jess had been attempting to create distance between us, and how to recognize those patterns if anyone ever tried something similar. "She was grooming me," Marcus said in one session. "I see it now. Building trust, creating rapport, positioning herself as an alternative, if she'd had more time." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. My career rebounded quickly. Without Jess sabotaging me, my actual performance spoke for itself. I got the promotion 6 months later. My ideas started getting recognized again because they were actually being attributed to me. I got my life back. My real life, not the diminished version Jess had been carefully crafting. But it changed me. I'd love to say I moved on completely, that I emerged unscathed and stronger. That's what people want to hear. The triumph of the hero. The truth is messier. I have trust issues now. Every new friendship feels precarious. I catch myself analyzing people's words for hidden meanings, looking for signs of manipulation, waiting for the other shoe to drop. When someone compliments me, part of me wonders if they're collecting information to use later. When someone offers help, I question their motives. When someone gets close, I pull back. Marcus noticed. "You're doing it again," he said gently one evening. "Doing what?" "Creating distance. Sarah invited you to her book club. You made an excuse. Mike asked if we wanted to come over for game night. You said you were busy. You're isolating yourself." He was right. I was doing exactly what Jess had done to me, but I was doing it to myself. Building walls, keeping people out, deciding that if I didn't let anyone close, they couldn't hurt me. "I'm scared," I admitted. "What if I'm wrong about people again? What if I miss the signs again? Then we'll deal with it." But Rachel, not everyone is her. Most people are just people. Flawed and imperfect, but basically decent. What she did was extraordinary in its cruelty. That's not normal. I started therapy, real therapy, with a focus on rebuilding trust and processing betrayal. It's slow work. There are days I want to quit, to just accept that I'm going to be guarded and suspicious forever. But I'm trying. I'm learning that the problem wasn't that I trusted someone. The problem was that she was unworthy of that trust. And that's on her, not me. I'm learning that healthy relationships involve vulnerability, and vulnerability always involves risk. You can minimize that risk by choosing carefully, by watching for red flags, by listening to your instincts. But you can't eliminate it entirely without also eliminating connection. I'm learning that what Jess did says everything about her and nothing about my worth. But I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't still hurt. Some betrayals leave permanent marks. People ask me how I missed the signs, how someone could do this for 12 years without me noticing. Here's what I learned about predatory friendships. They start with love bombing. Jess came into my life like a whirlwind of attention and affection. She made me feel special, seen, understood. That intense early bonding created a foundation of loyalty that was hard to shake even when things got weird later. They isolate you gradually. It wasn't obvious that she was pushing people away. It happened so slowly, so subtly, with such plausible explanations, that I didn't realize I'd become dependent on her for social connection until it was already done. They position themselves as your protector. Jess was always the one warning me about other people, telling me who I could trust, who was talking behind my back. She created a sense that it was us against the world. that made me trust her more while trusting others less. They control the narrative. Every situation got filtered through her interpretation. If someone seemed distant, she'd explain why. If I had a conflict, she'd mediate. She became the lens through which I viewed my entire social world. They steal opportunities while appearing supportive. The stolen ideas, the redirected clients, the blocked promotion, all of it was done under the guise of helping me, protecting me, taking burden off my shoulders. I thanked her for sabotaging me. They document everything. That's not normal friendship. Normal friends don't keep folders on you. They don't catalog your weaknesses. They don't strategize about your life. That level of documentation is predatory. They play the long game. 12 years. She played this game for 12 years. Most people can't imagine that level of patience and calculation. That's why it works. And the most important thing I learned, genuine friendship should make your life bigger, not smaller. It should open doors, not close them. It should build you up, not require you to diminish yourself. If a friendship consistently leaves you feeling less than, questioning yourself, isolated from others, that's not friendship. That's control. It's been a year now since I discovered the truth. A year since I confronted Jess, since I rebuilt my life from the ruins of her manipulation. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved to another state, got a job in a different industry. Part of me hopes she got help, genuinely changed, learned to deal with her issues in healthy ways. But another part of me knows that people like that rarely change. They just find new targets, new games to play. I hope I'm wrong. I hope she's an exception. I don't think about her every day anymore. That's progress. For months after everything happened, she occupied space in my head constantly. I'd wake up angry, go to sleep angry, spend hours ruminating on every memory, every moment I'd missed the signs. Now she's just a chapter in my story. An important one, a transformative one, but not the whole book. I have new friends now. Real friends, I think, though that voice in my head still sometimes questions it. We go to brunch, take pottery classes, have movie nights. I'm learning to relax into it, to not overanalyze every interaction. Katie and I are closer than ever. She understands in a way others don't. We're both rebuilding trust, both learning to be vulnerable again. Sometimes we joke that we should start a support group for Jess's victims. Dark humor, but it helps. Work is good. I'm thriving in ways I couldn't when I was being actively sabotaged. Turns out I'm actually pretty good at my job when someone isn't stealing my ideas and poisoning my reputation. Who knew? Marcus and I are strong. If anything, this experience brought us closer. He saw the worst of what human beings can do to each other, and he stood by me through it. He helped me process, helped me heal, didn't get impatient with my trust issues or my occasional spirals into paranoia. "You're stuck with me," he said one night, holding me while I cried through another wave of anger and grief. "Promise?" "Promise." If there's a lesson in all of this, it's that evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like friendship. Sometimes it sounds like concern. Sometimes it feels like love. The scariest predators are the ones who know exactly what they're doing, who plan meticulously, who smile while they destroy you. They don't see themselves as villains. They see themselves as entitled to what they want, justified in taking it. Jess probably still thinks she's the victim in this story. That's what narcissists and sociopaths do. They rewrite history to make themselves the hero, the misunderstood, the wronged party. I'm sure she's told people a version of events where I'm the bad guy, where she was just trying to help and I turned on her. I don't care anymore. I know the truth. The people who matter know the truth. The evidence is documented, undeniable, impossible to spin. I survived. That's what matters. I took the worst betrayal imaginable and I survived it. I rebuilt my life, my reputation, my relationships. I learned to trust again, slowly and carefully, but genuinely. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm sad. Some days I'm just grateful it's over, that I know now, that I'm free. But every day I'm moving forward. Because that's what you do when someone tries to destroy you. You refuse to stay destroyed. You pick up the pieces, you rebuild, you keep going. You win by living well, by being genuine where they were fake, by building real connections where they built illusions, by refusing to become bitter and suspicious and closed off, even when you have every reason to be. Jess tried to take my life. She spent 12 years systematically dismantling everything I built, but she failed. Because my life was never about the external things she could manipulate. It was about who I actually am, and that was the one thing she could never touch. I'm Rachel Whitmore. I'm a good person, a loyal friend, a loving wife, a talented professional. I'm imperfect and flawed, and sometimes too trusting. But I'm real, I'm genuine, I'm me. And no amount of manipulation, no folders full of strategies, no lies whispered in dark corners can change that. I won. Not because I destroyed her, but because I survived her. And I'm still here, still standing, still building a life worth living. That's the real story. Not the betrayal, but the survival. Not the falling apart, but the putting back together. Not the ending of a toxic friendship, but the beginning of something better. I'm still here. And I'm going to be okay. I'm writing this update because people keep asking what happened next. So here it is. Last month, I got a message request on social media. From Jess. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. I'm working on myself. I understand what I did was wrong. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were right about everything, and I'm sorry. I hope you're doing well. You deserve happiness. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to tell her I appreciated the apology, to offer some kind of closure. But then I realized, I don't owe her anything. Not forgiveness, not closure, not even acknowledgement. She doesn't get to dictate the terms of moving on. I deleted the message request without responding, and it felt like freedom. Sometimes the end of a story isn't dramatic. It's not a big confrontation, or a revenge plot, or a satisfying resolution. Sometimes it's just quietly closing a door and walking away. That's what I did. I closed the door. I walked away. And I'm not looking back.